Hello and welcome. This is our special edition, and today we focus on Ethiopian national interest. And my guest today is Professor Dibaba Amale. Professor Dibaba Amale is a well-experienced and researcher, and let us focus on this very important issue, Professor. And first, welcome to our special program.
Thank you for having me.
Ethiopia, as you know, is a diverse country. There are many diversity. How we can, minimize our differences and focus on our national interests.
Thank you again for inviting me. National interest has four vital categories. The first one is survival. The second one is vital. Third one is major. The fourth one is peripheral. National interest is done within these four categories. Again, these categories have another subcategories. And the first one is defense of homeland. And the second one is economic well-being. The third one is favorable world order. And the fourth one is a promotion of values. So within this context, I just wanted to give a background context, how we understand as a scholar of national interest and anything to do with a nation, what they prioritize. The survival is, in terms of defense of the homeland, this is very vital, a survival interest is. And it's also vital, it's also a major national interest. At the periphery is the promotion of values, like what the United States does, the Western countries do to impose their cultural values through movies, music, and so forth. And so, for Ethiopia, the three of the subcategories I have indicated, or as I put it into context, defense of homeland, economic well-being, and favorable world order is very important. They are vital, they are survival, they are also a major national interest. So we understand within this context. So Ethiopia, in order to strengthen its national defense, a defense of homeland security, we call this high politics. And the second one, economic well-being, is we call low politics. So for any nation, including Ethiopia, a defense of homeland there is no question about it. How does that takes place? It has internal and external dimension.
You mean protecting the sovereignty of the nation?
Yes, sovereignty. Anyone who is in the sphere of policy making must understand this very well. The defense of homeland or national security or national territorial integrity is important to every nation. So they focus on that. That can and be construed within the internal and external context. Why? Internally, a nation must be strong. Internally, a nation must be coherent. There must be a domestic, even if there are differences, as you have indicated, more than 80 different ethnic groups or nations within Ethiopia. I think, to my knowledge, there are up to 86. So to reconcile these plural national states, we call them plural national states. Plural national state means the the one I have already indicated, 80 or plus nations, or we call ethnic groups. How do you manage that? There must be a capacity for a state to reconcile the different interests. Within us, the culture is varied, language, and so on. Whenever difference arises, there must be a mechanism to reconcile those or be able to manage amicably. So that's the internal aspect. The external aspect is not within the control of a nation state. And there are so many factors at play. If you are strong, of course, you'll be respected, you'll be listened, you'll be accepted, you will always be have a voice in the world affairs. As I put as a third category, the favorable world order. Within that, a nation state can play its role. One is economically self-sufficient, self-reliant. One is national security and territorial integrity is intact and strong. All this. Underneath this, a nation always must have the second category, economic well-being. If you are not strong economically, if you are relying on a foreign aid or handouts, it is very questionable to sustain that autonomy, the national sovereignty. Most poor countries are compromised their national sovereignty and national security as well because they are reliant on others for handouts. That's why a nation must always be self-reliant economically, self-reliant in terms of defending its territorial integrity. The promotion of values for the poor countries is a luxury. Is because a poor country cannot aspire to be imperial or imposing its values because their priority is economic well-being and national security or the defense of homeland.
So you have raised the issue of internal and external pressures, and let's talk about these external pressures. Of course, there are no permanent enemies and a permanent alliance. Why some countries, especially the neighboring countries, are long time enemy to Ethiopia? What's wrong there, especially in the northern part of our country? We can mention Eritrea and Egypt by their name. Why they are always against the benefit or national interest of Ethiopia?
As I've already indicated, the four subcategories or the main categories of defense of homeland, economic well-being, favorable world order, and promotion of values. Let's take Egypt. Egypt, let me remind you, or the audience, your audience, always think a strong Ethiopia in terms of its defense of homeland, economic well-being, and its position in the world order, as I put it, a favorable world order. This is always considered as a threat. Therefore, to keep Ethiopia weak, divided, and always fragmented, always not at on good terms with its neighbors, is a vital interest for the Egypt. People in the Foreign Office must understand this. Because whether the fear is imaginary or real, it depends on how your enemy looks at you. So a strong Ethiopia, a developed Ethiopia, in terms of its military capacity, in terms of its economic development, is always considered a threat, because if Ethiopia becomes strong militarily and economically developed, uh, Egyptians always think we will deny their water share, because, as you know, 86% of the Nile water supplies is from Ethiopia. That's why they always wanted to keep Ethiopia crippled, weak, fragmented, and always conflict prone. So they harbor this in order to advance their vital interests. Instead of investing in peace and harmony and good relation with Ethiopia, they choose to organize, train, and mobilize oppositions within Ethiopia. They choose that. It is not Ethiopia that forced them to do this. It is their imaginary fear. We will deny them the water supply in order to achieve their national interest goal, or a survival, or a vital or major. And that's why they always support what it looks like. Egypt has been building a small cottage under a big house. Take an oak tree, and then there is a little small tree within the Nile riparians, or within the Nile River, whether Sudan, Ethiopia, or Uganda. They always wanted to keep these nations weak, fragmented, and always conflict prone. That's why they are investing heavily to support opposition within these countries. For instance, they've destroyed already Sudan. They have not been managed to destabilize Uganda. Uganda also is a source of White Nile river. And Ethiopia, they've been working for generations with this imaginary fear Ethiopia will deny them the water fair share.
Do you think Ethiopia will deny them, or did Ethiopia deny them?
Not in our history, and I don't think anyone in their think about denying water to Egypt. Ethiopia wanted to use its fair share.
Why Eritrea also, usually become the, enemy or against Ethiopian interests?
There is a historical background, or let me put it in a context. The Egyptians think, in addition to Nile River, the Red Sea as Arab lake. They think it is their lake, not even a sea. It's not the Eritreans as such. Maybe some people misunderstand. I studied it, why this thing happened from the beginning, who is behind it, how it was done. Without the Egyptians and the Eritrean People's Liberation Front, the EPLF, Egypt was almost determining what the Sudanese, how the Sudanese politics ought to run, is to advance Egypt's interest. Therefore, Sudan accommodated both TPLF and EPLF to advance Egypt's interest. It's not in Sudan's interest to harm Ethiopia because we are very contiguous, very neighbors. When there's a problem in Sudan, Sudanese people come to Ethiopia. When there's a problem in Ethiopia, Ethiopians are always accommodated in Sudan. And the refugee flow gave advantage for the both TPLF and EPLF leaders to recruit for their um, fighters. So from the beginning, Eritrea was Egypt's a vital, high-value project. That is, as I've indicated, to destabilize, weakening, and crippling Ethiopia.
What shall Ethiopians do to fight against this conspiracy that has been cooked so far between Eritrea and Egypt? What Ethiopians should do, in fact?
Ethiopians must apply wisdom when it comes to Eritrea. Wisdom, I mean, wisely, they need to win over uh, the majority of Eritrean people, plus the leadership. Adversarial policy is not to the Ethiopia's advantage. Ethiopia must be always on the contrary. Ethiopia must always apply harmony. Ethiopia must always show goodwill. Ethiopia always reassure us as brotherly and sisterly people. And for the Eritrean side, it is to their interests to be at harmony and in peace with Ethiopia. They will gain 1,000,000 times from Ethiopia rather than the token gesture or a scruffy assistance from Egypt. Egypt is not good for the Eritrean people because what have they done? They have established one elementary school or a clinic. All this long, like for 50 or 60 years, they've been investing on a disastrous project, only on the negative. So Eritreans must wake up and must understand our future is tied with Ethiopia. Harmony, peace is the way to go about. Understanding that is very important. What I would expect from Ethiopian side should always avoid and fall into the trap because going to war with Eritrea is to the advantage of Egypt. It will weaken Ethiopia, it will drain its resource, it will deflect from the journey of prosperity, development, and aspiring for a better life. So diverting the energy and the resource into war is to the Egyptians' advantage. Through Eritrea or Somalia or Sudan or whoever can trigger war with Ethiopia is an advantageous for the Egyptians. That's why Ethiopian leadership must apply wisdom. What is the best for us? What is the in terms of cost benefit calculation? So that's why I insist wisdom is very important. How to handle Eritrean issues. Those it's not to be honest, they don't think autonomously. Eritrean leadership is not autonomous. They are under the yoke of Egypt, always running to Cairo, always running to Cairo. Whenever they are upset, they run to Cairo. I'm sure maybe a generation will rise up one day that will understand Egypt project is no good for us. Our future, our destiny is tied with Ethiopia. We need harmony, integration, and peace. That understanding is very important from the Eritrean side as well. And anyway, now the leadership in Eritrea is about to finish their journey. They're very old. I hope when they move away, the next generation will understand what have we benefited from Egypt's project or others who have been helping us to destroy ourselves and to weaken Ethiopia. What have we benefited from it? A rational thinking, a logical person will always think that in terms of cost benefit calculation. Therefore, when a good understanding arises from Eritrean side, when Ethiopia apply wisdom, I hope a better things will come. Egypt always wanted to create havoc in Ethiopia, to cripple Ethiopia. So to defeat that Egypt's goal or a project or destabilizing and crippling this fragmenting Ethiopia, Ethiopian leadership must apply wisdom.
Thank you. And finally, how should our political differences, especially whenever the national interest is concerned, how can we minimize our political differences here within the country and stand firmly whenever some external pressures come against our national interests?
Not to give a chance for Egypt to or external forces to wreak havoc in Ethiopia. So a peace, peace. How can you defeat the Egyptian project? How can you destroy Egypt's projects in order to advance its national vital interest? Is by develop in order to change our life to the better, in order to invest our resources in developing ourselves instead of destroying ourselves. So the citizen, if a citizen has this a good understanding or enlightened view, what is the best in Ethiopia's interest, and I hope that will diffuse all the tensions and the infighting that Egyptians always dream 24 hour. The destruction of Ethiopia. And so the government must work very, very hard, tirelessly, not once or twice, a million times if it is necessary. It is the government that has an upper hand to affect peace and harmony for everyone to come to the table.
Professor Dibaba Amale, researcher and a political analyst, thank you very much for your insights and for your time as well. We really appreciate.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Dear viewers, this is all about our discussion for this edition, and I'm sure you have got some very important insights from this discussion. Until next edition, goodbye.